My name is Jamie Joanne Russell. At the time of this recording, I am 48 years old. I have worked in the public library system for almost 25 years. I pay taxes. I have dated. And I am autistic. I have been autistic since birth because autism is 100% genetic. We have known this for a fact since the 1970s. In fact, we can look to history to see evidence of autism existing long before vaccines did. We can even look to folklore, specifically Celtic fairy folklore, to see evidence of autism existing before vaccines. Now, for those who don't understand what I'm saying, according to fairy folklore, specifically the Celtic, fairies cannot have healthy children. Therefore, they would either take their own sickly child or something like a log or a bundle of sticks and put a glamour on it to make it look like a specific human child that they've targeted for kidnapping. And then they would leave the glamored piece of wood or their glamored child in the place. And that glamored child was called a changeling. And if you looked at the description of the behavior of a changeling, they pretty much fit somebody with autism or ADHD or both to a T. So before people blamed vaccines for something that is 100% genetic, they blamed the fairies. There is no autism epidemic. It's just simply that we are better able to diagnose it now. I was not diagnosed with autism until I was 46 years old. And the reason for that is because in the 1980s, they did not believe that girls could be autistic. Because autism presents differently in those of us who are assigned female at birth than those who were assigned male at birth. Therefore, they believed only boys could be autistic, though occasionally, like in the case of Temple Grandin, they did recognize autism in girls because it presented the way it presents in boys. Autism not only has traits such as sensory issues, difficulty making eye contact, being socially awkward, it also has physical traits. For instance, I toe walk. And what that means is when I step, I put my weight on the balls of my feet, on the toes of my feet, rather than my heels the way a neurotypical person would. I used to get screamed at a lot by my PE teachers because I was walking on the front half of my feet instead of my heels. Instead of heel toe, it was always toe heel. They should have recognized that I was autistic, but they were too busy screaming at me. Also, autistic people can tend to be very flexible. For instance, this is me trying to hold my fingers out straight. This is even relaxed. You can see they still start to curve upwards. And I tell you, there are autistic people that can bend them almost completely backwards. I used to be able to touch my hands behind my back before I put on so much weight, but I'm still pretty close for somebody so fat. Of course, the osteoarthritis doesn't help in that either. And that's from working in a public library for 25 years. Again, there is no autism epidemic. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is 100 billion% wrong. There is no environmental cause for autism. Vaccines do not cause autism. Andrew Wakefield faked his study because he was trying to sell his own vaccine and realized that he could become rich by scaring people away from vaccinating their children at all. He is a grifter. So is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a raw milk drinking grifter. I don't even think that he's actually recovered from his heroin addiction. I can use a toilet. I can hold a job. I do pay taxes. I have been on dates. Autism is not a deadly condition. It's not a catchable condition. It is a genetic condition. While it is true that sometimes trauma can make somebody develop symptoms that are similar to autism, that is PTSD, not autism. I am a person with value. I have value. Just because I'm autistic does not mean I'm worthless. I have contributed to this world. I have done many things. Every autistic person has done many things. And I will tell you another thing. A lot of people who work in public libraries are autistic. There's a lot of autistic librarians out there. I'm actually not a librarian as I don't have the degree, but still, I worked in a public library for 25 years. I'm kind of burnt out on it, but I've held a job for 25 years with the same library system. And that was even before I knew I was autistic. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is lying to all of you. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And as far as I'm concerned, the children who have recently died of measles, which is not normal, especially when we have a safe, effective vaccine, as far as I'm concerned, their blood is as much on his hands as it is on the hands of the parents who chose not to vaccinate them. As far as I'm concerned, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and those parents need to be charged with murder. It is murder what they did by choosing not to give their children a safe, effective vaccine because of the words of somebody who drinks raw milk and uses heroin. And yes, I'm going to bring that up because that obviously affects his thinking process. Guilty of murder. As far as I'm concerned, they are just as guilty of murder as Susan Smith and Casey Anthony, and we all know Casey did it, folks. We all know Casey did it. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., as an American citizen, I demand you resign your position. You do not know what you're talking about. You have proven yourself time and time again to be a complete moron with absolutely no expertise, no knowledge whatsoever. You are unqualified for your position. Step down now and go turn yourself in for murder because, as far as I'm concerned, in my personal opinion, you are a murderer. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., you are a louse. You are a liar. You are a scammer. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., again, I demand your resignation immediately. Autism is not a death sentence. Autistic people have value. I have to calm myself down. What you said, sir. No, you're not a sir. You're not a sir. You are dirt. You are less than dirt. You are less than dirt. You are less than a germ. What you said was absolutely disgusting, vile, and bigoted. Yes, sir, bigoted. Step down now. You are not qualified for your position. You know nothing about what you're talking about. You, sir, again, not a sir. You brainwashed sheep. You raw milk drinking moron. What you are is garbage. And if anybody around here has absolutely no value and nothing to contribute to this world, it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr.